I got the book. I got the book, 10 Publishing Myths. And the author is W. Terry Whalin. And guess what? I have him here with live. We're live right now. Terry, you are brave, brilliant, bold to write a book about 10 publishing myths. I can't wait to get juicy and get right into these myths. Hello, Terry. Introduce yourself.
Adrian, very great to be here with you today. I'm an author, editor. I've been in publishing a long time. I've written more than 60 books for traditional publishers, and I've written for more than 50 magazines. I've been doing this publishing work for a long time, and that's why I wrote this book, because I hear all these myths all the time, and I really wanted to help authors understand what they can practically do when they get a book out there. I mean, there's so much of the publishing process that I've learned that's outside of our control. Like I can't make a bookstore buy your book or carry your book in the bookstore, but I can have my own author newsletter, for example. So, I mean, there's things that I can do. And that's what I was trying to emphasize in this book, that to get authors to take actions for stuff they can control in the process.
I love that. Okay, so Terry, how many? I'm curious about this question. How many publishers are born a day? Because it feels like everyone is in the business of being a publisher. I get more LinkedIn messages. Hi, have you published your book? Oh, I can publish it for you. I'm like so confused with like how and what is going on, but I'm thinking AI may be behind it.
Could be. I don't know. Lots of people are trying to publish books out there, but I always tell people making books is easy, but selling books, now that's another story. If they're selling books, that's really where the rubber meets the road. I work for a company, Morgan James Publishing. We've been around 21 years. We actually had a book this week that was on the USA Today bestseller list. And you can't do that kind of thing as a publisher unless you're selling books out there in the bookstore. That's what it's all about for us.
Oh my gosh. So we were at PodFest, actually. I was with Sheila, and she does have Pod to Book for podcasters. So I've actually had two books where she literally has created a recipe so that it takes the interview and creates a really great narrative. So it's a great anthology. It's like 80% done, but exactly what you're saying. It doesn't have the dedication page. It doesn't have any extra information. You have to get your own cover for it, which is fine. But the reason I'm telling you this is that Morgan James sponsored that particular track at PodFest, and the man was so nice. I don't know if it was the owner of Morgan James.
Probably David Hancock you met. Yeah, I know he was there.
David Hancock, yes. Nice man. Really very warm and opening, and he seemed to really love what Sheila's doing. But okay, so here's the thing though. You're 100% right. The fact that you have to sell the book. But doesn't that start with even understanding the right categories?
It does. There's a lot of basics, and you have to have a good manuscript. At the end of the day, that's the foundation of having a good book, and a great cover, something that attracts people, a good title. All those little details are very important. Like on the back cover, for example, they have this barcode. Well, I've seen a lot of these barcodes are not done right, particularly by the self-publishers. They don't have the price in there. I mean, we have somebody at Morgan James that works full-time on metadata, for example. I mean, I would go crazy if I was the person doing that, but it's a very important part, because that's how your book gets discovered out there, by showing up in all the right categories and all that kind of thing.
Exactly. And selling a book. You're even anthology books. I think that there are probably some of the guest / contributing authors that never even bought their book. I'm assuming that the sales weren't that great, but they're not awful either. But it is really, really hard. So why? Let's talk about the elephant in the room for me, AI, right? Because
Sure.
I know someone who published a book and it was all messed up. I mean, not only the M dashes, but all of the wording, all of like the prompts for ChatGPT were kept in there. Like it went from uploading to printing without any like proof being done. Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to get the proofs done. So I honestly don't even understand that, but that's like, that can happen, right?
Yeah, it can happen. I mean, there's more and more of this AI generated material, but at the end of the day, uh, I really believe it needs the human touch. Actually reading the words and seeing if these words make sense, getting the stuff that shouldn't be in there out of there. It's got to be a good book at the end of the day. Otherwise, people are going to be complaining and focused on all the junk that's in there instead of talking about how great your storytelling is, for example.
You need an editor. If
They
you
do.
can't, if you don't know how to edit yourself, then you need an editor. And that's also what you do.
I've done that a number of times. Yes, I'm not doing it so much as an editor more so much these days. I am still an acquisitions editor. In other words, I find the books that we publish, but um, I don't do a whole lot of that editing kind of work anymore. But I hire some other people to do it. I know how to find good people in that area. So part of it's who you know as much as what you know. So you got to find the right people in this process to work together to really produce something that's going to sell.
That's special. I love that. I know I edited one time and I'm like, I don't like it. It's not like for me. So I like to read, but I don't want to edit. Though I do tend to catch mistakes, but I just don't, it's not bringing me joy. But
Sure.
okay. But let's just go back to AI and let's just explain why to our listeners that it's not a good idea to have, like, go to ChatGPT and say, write me a book about moms that nurse. I don't know why that popped in my head. Weird, I know. But all right, write me a book about all red birds in the world. But if you don't really know, you're leaving it all up to ChatGPT, compared to if I prompted ChatGPT, here's what I know about birds, blah, 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 write a book surrounding that. Then I think you get back more information. You've got your, like, at least your heart in it if you need to use ChatGPT. But am I totally far off and crazy?
Well, I think the caution with using ChatGPT to an AI to write your book is uh, they pull their information from everywhere. And so, how can you copyright or even put the book out there under your name? Because it's really plagiarizing from everybody out there.
That's funny.
I
I
mean,
never
that's
thought of that.
that's really the question: is this your original material? Is this your story? And that's the real danger, I think, that's out there with the whole AI thing. Is it's pulling from everywhere? Is it pulling from somewhere that somebody else holds the copyright and you shouldn't be pulling it from?
Wow. Okay, because it's all open source.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. See, I'm like, wait, is it the right word? Okay. So we kind of talk. I love that about AI. Let's go like into those that are self-publishers and Amazon. And what is the pros and cons of using Amazon to publish your book or ebook?
Well, Amazon's is good, but on the other hand, they're only 24% of our overall business at Morgan James. So the way I look at it, you publish with Amazon, you're missing 76% of what we do for the book out there. I mean, we're selling our books into 98% of the bookstores in North America, including the brick and mortar stores. So very broad distribution, and having your book everywhere is an important part of the process, I think. And to be honest, Adrian, you can imagine booksellers don't like Amazon because, right or wrong, they believe Amazon has destroyed their business over the years. So they don't really care if you're publishing your book on Amazon. Booksellers really care about who's buying your book, who's your reader, and that's an area that's often missed when somebody self-publishes. They just think about themselves and get their own book out there without really concentrating on who's the audience, who's the reader for this book at the end of the day.
I love that. Okay. So then I know that Simon Schuster, did they just start where they're publishing? And then what's the other one that gets you into Barnes and Noble?
There's all kinds of ways to get out there, but we sell our books into Barnes and Noble. We sell books at Target, at Morgan James, for example.
That's
So,
great.
you've got to get your book broadly out there. I think is one of the keys to getting your book in the market.
But I think it's so much. It's like I would say, well, they're not going to look at me. I don't have a large email list. I don't have large social media. I'm writing a book. Well, my favorite book is I wrote a book for myself. It's called "It's Not My Secret to Share," and it's not about one particular secret. It's about a variety of secrets. There's 9 stories in it for kids. It could be a surprise party secret, or it could be a different kind of secret. So, but it teaches them the burden and the consequences, and the power of a secret. And so, but I was like, nobody else have really written a book like that. But I wrote it myself. I did the second edition through AI to kind of, update it. And I wanted a workbook at the end. I created a course for it, but I'm not here to promote that. I'm just it's just going to sit there on Amazon because I probably didn't do the right categories. It's probably just going to, I have to market it like crazy. So what does someone need to work with you? What does that look like? Because do I come to you and say, I have the most fascinating love story between me and whatever it is, whoever it is? What does that look like?
Well, when somebody approaches me, I want to see if they have a manuscript. I'd like to see that. If they have a book proposal, I'd like to see that. A lot of times within the publishing business, we use a book proposal. And even if you self-publish, I believe you should write this proposal, because the proposal is essentially your business plan as far as who your reader is, who your audience is, who's your competition, what you're going to do to market the book. You kind of think through all that and lay it out on paper. And then you have a game plan as far as how you're going to publish your book. Morgan James is actually the 3rd publisher that I'm working at in this acquisitions editor role. So my first publisher that I worked at inside a publishing company was at David C. Cook. And I was very frustrated as an editor because I would sit there in this big room full of people with the president of the company and the chief operating officer and the vice president of sales and editorial marketing, all these people. I'd pitch my book, and I didn't have often what I needed from the author to be able to get them a book contract. I got shot down. And so out of my own frustration, Adrienne, I wrote this book a number of years ago called Book Proposals That Sell: 21 Secrets to Speed Your Success. And I wrote this book because I really wanted to get better submissions.
I love that.
And it's turned out the first edition of this book has helped a lot of people. They got a literary agent. They got a $50,000 advance. All kinds of great things happen. But publishing has changed a lot since I wrote the first edition of this book. So a couple of years ago, this is a revised edition of this book, and I changed. I brought it up to date, and anybody listening to us can get a free copy of this whole book. Ooh. You go to bookproposals.ws for website, bookproposals plural.ws, and that's my page where you can download the full ebook for free. And part of the reason I give that away, Adrienne, is we've learned at Morgan James that if you download my ebook and start to read that ebook, there's a high probability you're going to turn and buy the print copy of the book. So I lose nothing by giving away the ebook. In other words, I'm driving print book sales. And for our authors at Morgan James, we give them the email address if they ask for it. So the other day, I've been using this bookproposals.ws for a year and a half or so. And so I asked for the email addresses. They sent me like 1,500 emails, that I added to my email list. So, there again, that's another innovation that Morgan James is doing to help our authors grow their email list, something they can control, and drive print book sales by giving away a free ebook. Oh,
is this it?
That's my website for the book, book proposals that sell. But
okay.
The site I was telling you about was bookproposals.ws.
Oh, that's where I was. What is that? What is that extension?
For website. .ws for website.
Oh, I love it.
There
oh,
it
wow,
is.
wow, wow. Here we go.
Here
we go.
There we go. So you can just click that button and get the book in whatever version you need for your iPad or whatever.
Well, let me take a peek. Let me looky. All right. Love it. All right. Can we get 2 secrets out of you today?
Yeah. Oh, that are in this book. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. One. Let me see. I gotta cheat here. I gotta look at my table of contents here a little bit. But yeah, I guess the first secret that I would give you is to keep the title and the format simple. You know, I have all these authors that just put working title because they say, well, the publisher is going to pick the title. Well, no. If you pick a good title, that will be throughout the whole book, and that'll be on the book that's actually published. So put a lot of energy into what's going to be the title of your book. A good title, Adrian, should be 3 to 5 words, something that fits on the spine of the book at the end of the day. And so be thinking about that and test your title. Find a good one that's out there. So that's a secret that I would give you. Another secret is that the author should gather high-profile endorsements. How do you get those well-known people to endorse your book? Well, the secret is you ask them. and when you ask them, you have to, you know, they're busy people, right? So you've got to ask them in a way that they will say yes. So if you have to write the endorsement for them, write the endorsement for them so that they can look at it and say, yeah, I wouldn't say that, but I'd say this. Or they change a word or two and they say, okay, run with that. Boom.
Do they charge for that? Do
Nope.
Some people charge for an endorsement?
No, I've never paid for an endorsement from anybody, from even well-known people. So, you know, get these endorsements because people buy books because of these endorsements that are on it. So add that to your book when you're publishing it.
I see it. I love it. I'm like, how did you get Tony Robbins or how'd you get Mel Robbins? Yeah.
Ask them in a way that is easy for them to say yes. These are busy people. So you've got to ask them in a way and you've got to follow up. Once you ask, follow up and say, hey, did you get this? I want to make sure you got my request. Is there something I can do to help get this along? I mean, you've just got to ask in the right kind of way to get them to say yes.
Are you sending a manuscript, an actual like proof?
No, I'm not asking him to read it. I'm probably sending him a book cover so that they know it's a real book that's going to happen, and just a polite, short little request.
Isn't that something that's like Morgan James? Like I just can't see me asking anyone to write a book, but I write an endorsement. But I'm thinking if you're doing the book, then is that like included in the whole kit and caboodle?
No, it's something our authors have to do.
Wow.
And so, I mean, if they give it to us, then sure, we print it in the first pages of the book, but typically the author gathers all that kind of material.
Wow, you have to really think, who do I know? If you are famous or popular, could you like call me, because I want to have you endorse my book. All right. So Terry's so funny. So I got the book 10 Publishing Myths, and I got this right here. It's not a love letter. I wish it was. It's like the questions. No, I don't do questions, but I'm going to look really quickly. Why did you write 10 Publishing Myths, and what do you hope readers will do after reading your book? Can you at least say good question?
That's a good question.
Oh, thank you so much. Look, actually, why did you write this book? Who are you trying to help? Me? Other people?
Well, I'm trying to help in that book. I'm trying to help authors have realistic expectations about what's going to happen with their book. Because like I was saying earlier, so much of the publishing process is outside of anything that we as authors can control. So take control of what you can do and then let the rest go. So I have authors, for example, that tell me, well, my audience is over on Facebook or my audience is on LinkedIn. Now, those are okay platforms, don't get me wrong, but within the business, we call those platforms rented platforms because I don't own Facebook. I don't own LinkedIn. As a matter of fact, knowingly or unknowingly, I could do something to violate their terms and I could get kicked off of those or put in Facebook jail. I hear people talk about that. It hasn't happened to me, but it could someday. So I don't really want to just lean on Facebook for my total audience because then I'd be in trouble. It's like gone if I get in Facebook jail. So when you're making your book, you want to be thinking about that and think those kinds of things through. So like I'd mentioned my email list, that's something I control, that I have, that I can do. My own website, my own blog. Those are things that I have control over and I can post on them whenever I want to. So, those are kinds of just simple creative things that every one of us need to really think about when we put our books together.
I love it. I love it. And that's what I've heard. Okay, I'm going to take my finger and I am going to just flip the book and I'm going to pull the first chapter that comes out. Okay. And then I want you to share. Okay. Okay. Oh, myth number 6. The editor will fix all my mistakes. Yeah. Is that a myth? That's true.
Well, that's a myth. That's a myth.
No way.
The editor is going to work hard on your book and they're going to, produce the best book that they can, but none of us are perfect at the end of the day. So mistakes do slip into the book. And really what I encourage authors to do, I believe in this chapter, is to take 100% responsibility for their own success. That's one of these things that I've learned the hard way in this process, Adrian, that there's only one person on the planet that I really have any control over at the end of the day. And that's me. And so I can't depend on what you're going to do. I can't depend on what anybody else that I know out there is going to do, but I can depend on what I'm going to do. So really, really take a serious look at that. I did have a wake up moment when it came to books. I mean, I'd written about 50 books for traditional publishers. They were making these pretty books. They were putting them in the bookstore. But when you write for traditional publishers, about once a year, maybe quarterly, they will send you a financial statement about how your books are doing. Well, all the statements that I was getting back then were in the minus category. I wasn't making any money. I mean, they were paying me in advance, but my books weren't earning back their advance. I was trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. At that point in my life, I was running a little litter agency in Scottsdale, Arizona. And Mark Victor Hansen, the co-author on Chicken Soup for the Soul, invited me to come out to Los Angeles. This was in 2006. He was having this event called Mega Book Marketing University. So I went out there to Los Angeles. I took pitches from people throughout the event, but I decided to sit there with all 400 of the other people that were there and listened to the speakers, because I figured I must be doing something wrong because my books weren't selling. Well, about halfway through that event, it was almost like I'd been asleep and I woke up, because I realized how little I was personally doing to be telling people about my own book. I mean, sure, I had a terrywhalin.com website, but I was doing almost nothing else back then. Now, one of the other speakers at this event, I mean, Mark Victor Hansen was there, but also his co-author, Jack Canfield, was there, and he spoke. Now, Jack has this book that I have on my shelf called The Success Principles. Maybe you've seen it. It's a bestseller. He's actually analyzed, what does it take to be successful? Well, the very first success principle says that I will take 100% responsibility for my own success. So I decided back then that I was going to take 100% responsibility for my own success. So blogging was a big thing back then. So I started blogging, and I've been blogging, Adrienne, every week since
for 20 years,
since 2004. Actually, yes.
22. Wow.
And so I found an article about a year ago out there. I've got this thing that searches for my name on the internet, and I found this article that said there were over 600 million blogs that are out there. But this article listed the top 27 content producers. They had people like Seth Godin, Ryan Holiday, Jeff Goins. Well, my name was one of the top 27. And it's not that I'm doing anything magical here, folks. I'm just persistent and consistent. I have over 1,800 entries that are in my blog. I blog every single week. So that's the kind of thing that any of us can do. You just have to do it over and over and over, and get your stuff out there. It's possible for all of us.
I just want to let that breathe for a second. And determination too, like you were determined. I absolutely love that. Okay, so then let's talk about, when you just said that, I'm thinking, well, this is interesting because books are all about being credible too, right? So there's the legacy style books, the books that are kind of, what do they say, like a fancy business card.
Right.
What was one of the strangest books that you've never really published before, that you thought reading it was a little different? Or, well, you didn't read it, but I'm curious because I'm thinking there's true crime books, there's all the different genres, but what is the most popular? Do a lot of people write a science fiction or romance?
Well, the biggest genre in fiction is romance. You're right, but there's all kinds of books and all kinds of audiences. So you just have to figure out what's the best thing for you. What audience can you really reach, and who are your readers? How can you get to those readers? I mean, there's a way, but you have to be determined. You're right to do that. The story that the Chicken Soup for the Soul guys tell. I mean, they were rejected over 140 times before they finally found the publisher to publish their book, and they found this little publisher in Florida that published the first Chicken Soup for the Soul book. They told their publisher they were going to sell 1 million copies in the first year. Well, their publisher laughed at them. They never sold 1 million copies of anything. They thought that was a crazy idea. It took them 1.5 years, Adrienne, to sell their first 1 million books. But the reason they did it is they practiced what they call the rule of 5. They got up every day and they did 5 things to be telling people about their book. They did a podcast. They did a radio show. They did a live event. They did a magazine article. There are dozens of things you can do, but the fact that they did 5 of them and they did them every day is what caught fire out there. So now Chicken Soup for the Soul is one of the most prolific series in the English language, but it takes that kind of persistence to find your audience out there and sell books at the end of the day.
I love it. I love all the information that you're giving. I think it's fantastic because it is it's tough when I belong to a lot of networking groups and different groups, and there seems to be a publisher in each one, or someone that will help you write the story. But then, it used to be like there were realtors, and whenever you go to a networking event, there'd be like 10 realtors, right? 10 bankers. Now there's like 10 publishers. So it's kind of watered down. So what are the benefits of working with Morgan James compared to working with like another publishing company? Is it the relationship?
Well, I think one of the benefits of working with somebody like us is the wide distribution for your book, for one thing. But another benefit is that we are still helping our authors that came to us in 2005. So, that came to us 20 years ago. We're still coaching those authors, giving them ideas, different ways that they can get their book out there. I mean, sometimes it takes a while for your book to catch on. And I mean, a lot of publishers, they may give you 3 months or 6 months, but will they give you 20 years? I mean, that's got what we're doing. And I think the fact that we're in it for the long haul is a very important part of the process to help our authors along the way.
Yeah, it's a well-known name. Okay, before I let you go, one more. I have to just do one more because it's fun. Let's see. Okay. Myth number 4. Oh, let me remind you what it is. Hold on. I published a book that has no pages.
Wow.
Numbers. I mean, has no pages. No, I take that back. I didn't publish a book that has no pages. I published a book that has no page numbers.
Numbers. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Okay. Myth 4, beginning writers have no chance to get published.
Well, that's a myth because we publish a lot of new authors all the time at Morgan James. But the whole thing is there's all these people that want to publish books, Adrienne. And I don't get me wrong. I love books. Books are permanent. You can get them on your shelf and all that. But there's another way to get published out there. And you can reach many more people than you ever will with your book. I mean, the average self-published book is going to sell like 100 to 200 copies throughout the lifetime of the book. The average book from a regular publisher, if you sell 5,000 copies, that's a good number. Well, here's another way to get your book or get your content out there in the market. That's in the magazine world. And almost every magazine will take a personal experience story, a first-person strange story that you've had in your life. Write that story up. Send that out to magazines. In the magazine world, which I've worked in for a long time, it's very easy to reach 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 people with your magazine article. And at the bottom of your magazine article, you can say, by Terry Whalin, author of 10 Publishing Myths. give your little website there at the bottom. So that's exposure. And it's all a matter of thinking through the content that you're writing, right? So if you write 15, 20 magazine articles, a typical magazine article is maybe 1,500 words. Okay. So if you do 15 or 20 of those articles all on a related topic, those could be chapters of your book. It's all a matter of thinking through the process and sort of coming up with a game plan, then executing your game plan. That's what it takes.
I love that, Terry. Was there anything that I did not ask you that I should have? Maybe I should look at the list again. I love this. Terry sends not only, what did I do on my page? Oh, it's right there. Not only the book, but a nice card and then it really is very classy. I have to say the introduction to Terry and then, which is nice, got a picture on it. And then the questions and the bio. And let me see. I am the only other one that I think that we really didn't go into. Is there a formula for a book to become a bestseller?
There is no formula, because if there were, every publisher would work that formula and every book would be a bestseller. No, there's no formula. There are a series of practices, best practices that people have to do, like have an author newsletter, be out there doing different things to be telling people about your book. Those are all simple practices that all of us need to really do to get our book out there. I mean, that's why I'm active on social media. I mean, on Twitter, I have over 170,000 followers. On X, Twitter. Nice. I have over 19,500 connections on LinkedIn. But I don't lean on those things. I don't figure that if they disappeared tomorrow, it wouldn't kill me, in a sense. So you want to be conscious about what happens there. And I want to make sure too, Adrienne, that people know that they can get my book, like you said there. If they go to publishingoffer.com, they can get this book for only $10, along with over $200 worth of free bonuses. And these aren't just funky bonuses that I have. One of my bonuses, for example, is an audio where I interviewed a self-published author that is selling thousands of copies of his book. He's selling them to public libraries.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there's over 9,000 libraries in this country. Libraries have budgets to buy books. Okay. So he goes into all the detail. What librarian does he call? What kind of pitch does he make? Where did he get the list of all these libraries? Then what does he do after the call? He packs up his book, puts an invoice in it, takes it to the post office, mails it. So those are all simple actions that even if you've self-published a book, you could follow those actions and sell books.
Wait. You mean I could take my book, It's Not My Secret to Share, The Power and Consequences of Secrets.
You could.
And I could order 25 copies, let's say. Is that enough? And then bring it over to the library, because it actually is a really good book. I've had some different people say, wow, this is what's needed. And I created a course. How cool is that to go with it? But I could say to the library, hey, I want to donate these, or I'm selling them, or what am I doing?
The problem when you donate a book to the library is that they have these friends of the library things. So it might just go into the books that they'll give away or something for the library. You really want it to have your library, your book in the stacks, in the actual library itself. And so every library is different. Sometimes there's a form you can fill out online for that library to suggest that book. Other times you have to go pitch a particular librarian, the acquiring librarian, for example, and tell them about your book. And they'll order your book. They'll order it either from you, or they'll order it from wherever they can buy your book. Yeah, they will. They'll pay you for it.
Really? I never even thought of that. That's crazy amazing.
They will. And but then here's the other hitch with your library. You have to continue to after your book gets in the library stacks. You have to continue to market your book. In other words, that book in the library has to get checked out during the year several times.
Otherwise, what happens?
Well, I had a book, one of my books, a biography I wrote on Billy Graham, actually, that got in my library, which I was pleased about. But a couple years later, it wasn't there anymore. And so I called up the reference librarian and said, hey, what happened here? She said, oh, Terry, every book in our library has to earn their spot to remain year after year. They have to be checked out so many times. So somebody has to just go check out that book for it to stay in the library.
If you got a big family, you would be all set. Like if you have like 40 members of your family that all live in the same city and have them like strategically go get the book. That's interesting. What about the thinner books? Like those that are, 40, 50 pages.
Those are harder because it's hard to have a spine when it's so small. That's what you want to think about too. You want to make sure your book is the right size, that it's not it's not 400 pages because people are going to be reluctant to get that if it's too big. And it's also, you want to make sure it's big enough that it has a spine at the end of the day. So somewhere in between.
I love it. Terry, thank you so, so much. Again, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish I did?
Well, in the back of 10 Publishing Myths, I have a little page to encourage the readers not to miss the 11th myth.
Oh.
Because when Alice Kreider, who is an acquisitions editor at a publishing house, sent me back her endorsement, she said, Terry, you're missing the 11th myth. I'm like, okay, I'll bite. Alice, what was the 11th myth? She said, well, the 11th myth should be that if I send my book to Oprah Winfrey, she'll book me on her show. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's a good myth. I laughed, but then I thought, I think I'll write that chapter. And so I wrote that chapter because what people don't realize, Adrienne, is that Oprah Winfrey has this big, huge warehouse in Chicago where her show used to be, and people send their books there. Well, she organizes all that stuff and then gives it away a couple of times a year. Well, is that where you want your book to go? I don't think so. I think it's much more effective to give your book somewhere else, like to people that will be much more receptive to it. So I wrote that chapter, and then I give this away to people if they go to terrylinks.com /11th myth, 11th myth.
No, Terry, they got to get the book first, order the 10 publishing myths, and then you'll get that special link. We're not giving away that special link because that's so creative of you. And you know what I love? I remember when I was younger reading books and I was like, oh, if I only could like write to the author and tell the author how great it is. But now you could read a book, you could communicate with the author, have a conversation, probably pick up the phone and call. I mean, like that is so cool to have. I mean, you wrote 60 books. That's amazing. And that people have the opportunity to send you a message. I love that. I think that is just like really cool.
It is.
Right. It really is. You could, if you look them up. And so I love when authors are on LinkedIn. So I love that you are on LinkedIn, and I love everything. I wrote another book, by the way, Manner Shift, kind of like after, and that book is for young. Well, can you get me my Manner Shift book? That is the Young Professionals Guide. Wait, is it over there? Oh, let me show you. When you don't know what you're doing, here's what happens when you don't know what you're doing. Your wording comes here. Luckily, this is a not for sale proof, but what the heck? But it has like the smallest spine too, which can I get a magnifier? No, I'm kidding around. But this book is for Young Professional Guide, and I have a course that goes with it. And then, because I thought, well, it'd kind of be cool to do a course because there were like workplace scenarios. So maybe the book is too much, but my daughter's 20, so I kind of wrote it for her and for all those that are, graduating from school, but they don't have the correct etiquette skills. And then this is the adult version, which is actually very nice. It looks good and explains. But I had a book and I had used the cover of Amazon. And I was at Podfest, and Julie Riga, she came over and she looked at my book. It was pretty ugly. And she's like, one word should describe the book. And I'm like, okay. And I spent the weekend and I came up with Manner Shift. But you also see right here, they actually printed like the crop marks front cover.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these things happen, you guys. So don't publish so quickly. Like, get the author's proof, right? Why would you go just directly to print? And also another thing too, let's just, before we end it, Amazon, you may have extra pages, you can have missing pages, you can have pages that are misprinted, all of that can happen. Is that common with just Amazon or other publishers? Just sometimes the machine goes wonky?
It depends on the publisher, but mistakes are made, but overall, books are very, very well printed these days, I guess is what I'd say. No matter where you are. I mean, I've been through Lightning Source, which prints a lot of books, and they print books for Amazon, they print books for Morgan James, they print books for Oxford University Press. I mean, it's phenomenal to see how they do that. They'll be printing the covers over on one spot, they'll be printing the interiors over somewhere else, so match it together. and put it in a package and off it goes. So it's pretty impressive how they're producing books these days. And we back everything up at Morgan James. We do offset printing, but we also do print on demand. And you really can't tell the difference between offset printing and print on demand these days. So I don't think it's much of an issue, I guess.
Myth number 12. I always thought that only Amazon printed it. Like in every warehouse, they have a print. I did think that. I didn't know. I thought they had like a little department that prints books, but no.
No, they print books. I mean, we print books at Morgan James in about 5 places in the world. So we print in Australia, we print in the United Kingdom, several places here in the United States. So yeah, books are published all over the place.
Amazing. Okay, one last question, I swear. What is the favorite book? What is your most favorite book that you published? That for yourself, your own book?
My most favorite of my own books?
Yes.
It's really hard, Adrienne, because I've written all kinds of stuff. I've written biographies, children's books. I don't know. It'd be like asking me for a favorite kid.
I know. That's what I'm asking you.
I don't really have one. I guess I have all kinds of books on my shelf and everything here. So books are important to me. I guess if I had my favorite book, it probably would be this book that is old and yellow called Jesus the Revolutionary. Because when I was a sophomore in college, I was on the newspaper staff at Indiana University. We produced a full-size newspaper 6 days a week, and I was part of the writing staff. And I was sitting there on a Sunday afternoon trying to get my fingers on the right keys, and I couldn't get my fingers on the right keys. I kept making mistakes and backing up and crossing out. And I muttered to myself, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. And this little blonde-haired girl that was sitting next to me, she said, "Oh, Terry, don't say that day, because one of these days when you really need Jesus, you'll call out for him and he won't be there." And I thought, what's this? I go to church when I'm at home. I read the Bible in church when I'm at home. I really knew nothing, Adrienne, about church, So she sent me to this little bookstore a couple of blocks off the Indiana campus. They had pretty cards and posters. Maybe I'd find a book that interested me. So I wandered down there a couple of days later, and I bought this book called Jesus the Revolutionary. I thought, how in the world could Jesus be a revolutionary? So I took that book back to my room. It showed me a different side of Jesus than I'd ever seen before. But about that time, somebody invited me to this Jesus People gathering in downtown Bloomington, Indiana. People were sitting on little scraps of carpets with little candles lit. And I thought, those people in that room had something that I didn't have. And so I got a Bible, and I changed the direction of my life. I thought I was going to be like a newspaper reporter. That's what I was training to be, like on the Indianapolis Star, the Chicago Tribune, one of those places. Instead, I joined this group called Wycliffe Bible Translators. And I spent 10 years of my life, Adrienne, in linguistics. And so I went to Guatemala, Central America. I worked among the Southwest Cachiquel people. And so I changed the direction of my life, but then I sort of went back to my writing, and I published a little children's book. And then that's where I've been ever since, is doing that. And so these books, the reason I love this book is because I read this book and it changed my life.
Oh.
And books change people's lives. And I know that firsthand because of what happened with me with this book. And so that's why I do what I do every day with Morgan James, because these books are important.
And they leave a legacy. I do have a dedication page on my book too, for my husband and my 4 children. Okay, one last question. I swear, I promise. Pinky swear. Okay. titles of books are interesting. So, I've always checked. So I have a book, my Unscripted Brilliance, Brave, Bold, and Brilliant, or the Pod Match edition, because I did one for the Pod Match with the with 15 interviews, and Alex did the foreword. I guess in a way he endorsed the book, but and then I noticed that there was an Unscripted Brilliance, and one was by Chandler, I think, one of the guys from Friends that had passed away. And then I saw there was another one. I'm like, oh, but mine is at the top, actually, but probably just because I search for it more. But my question to you is, if you're looking up a book, there seems to be sometimes 5 books with the same title. Like, is that okay? That's not a big deal. How does that work?
You can't copyright a title. You can trademark a title, but you can't copyright it. So you do want your title to be different and stand out. It's a good idea to check it, I think, before you put it on a book. But publishers do this all the time. They publish 2 novels that have the same title. All kinds of things happen like that. So the difference is that even if you have the same title as somebody else, you're going to establish your own audience, your own readership, and just keep working at that, even if your title is the same as somebody else's.
Shoot, I have one more. I always thought but we'll go with it like a myth. I always thought also, like, if you're going to speak, sometimes they don't pay you to speak, but they allow you to sell the books at the back of the room.
Right.
Is that make sense? Is that good for a speaker to do?
Oh, I think it's a great thing for you to sell your books in the back of the room. And that's a way you could sell your course, like you're talking about, your other products, as well as your book. So yes, look for those opportunities. I mean, there's all kinds of places you can get out there and speak, whether that be your local civic group, your local Kiwanis Lions Club, the Rotary. There's lots of places out there. You just have to knock on those doors, pitch yourself, and see if you can line those up. I believe, Adrian, that we live in one of the greatest times in human history. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunity out there. You just have to actively be looking for it and seize it and move forward at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh, Terry, I love it. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. This was a great conversation. Even if no one listens, I enjoyed it. So thank you. Though I have been getting some great downloads, so I'm pretty proud of myself. But okay, I'm going to end the stream now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was amazing. Thank you guys for listening. Great. And thank you.